What is happening, ladies and gentlemen? Today's video has been sitting on my hard drive since last fall, actually. It's the last day the Deuce was on our property, the last day we owned the Deuce. And I know a lot of people hated to see the Deuce go. We hated to see it go, but we needed to fund the big independent suspension buggy build. Now, there is an episode coming out very soon on this buggy, so stay tuned for that. There's a lot of parts that need to get machined and stuff for that buggy, so bear with us on that build. But we sold the Deuce to fund that build because that build is extremely expensive. If you guys haven't been around long enough to know the Deuce build, make sure to check out the description of the video where the links to every part used on this Deuce, from Go Power Sports, from Performance 670, all those can be found in the video's description, as well as the playlist on this whole Deuce build. The Manco Deuce was an amazing vehicle, and we could be able to get it back later because the guy ended up taking the engine off to make a drag cart and ended up selling the Deuce back to Scott the Deuce guy. You'll get introduced to those people in this video, but yeah, it was cool to see that I had this full video sitting on the hard drive. Don't know why I didn't ever put it out, but here she is. So guys, I hope you enjoy. Stick around to the end of the video, check out those links, and let's roll that sweet intro.
That'll work. That was perfect.
So today's a bittersweet day.
Actually, just bitter.
Bitter, nothing sweet about it.
Not sweet for you. For me, it's just
Yeah, Lonnie don't get to ride the Deuce no more. Nor do I. The Deuce is leaving and going to Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
She's gonna be off the channel. And it's sad. But sometimes you gotta say goodbye. When you really love something, though, sometimes you just gotta let it go.
Yeah, so Chris Harris had the property where we did the meetup. He seen the Deuce, fell in love with the Deuce, wanted the Deuce,
bought the Deuce.
Bought the Deuce. So he's doing a partial trade, partial payment on the Deuce. And I hate to see it go, but we got some huge builds. Another 670 build that we're going to be doing, a turbo 670 build. We're going to see if we can make that work. Probably not. We suck. But
we're not very good at this.
So we're going to go out, ride the Deuce for a second. He's almost here to get it, and we'll show you what we're getting to replace it with. And we'll get to see Scott, the Deuce guy. He taught us a ton about front ends. Scott's a good old feller, and Chris.
And we got some front end questions, so it's good.
Hey, how do you build everything? So
can you do this for us real quick?
So I'm gonna go rip the Deuce around the yard, jump driveway, break it.
What if, like, as he's pulling in, you snap the front wheel off?
Good job.
Yeah. Good.
It's a dangerous day out here. The acorns are
the shocks are clapped out. Ooh, I spit. The shocks are clapped out on this thing.
Well, they're from 1947, so.
Yeah, you can't expect them to be good. So I did give him, ooh, little baby spider. Did give him a little, good gosh, he's a jumper.
Actually, it's all,
We gave him a little allowance in the budget for some new shocks. And you know, the thing to do to this Deuce, like I started looking at what we would have done if we'd have kept it, which is probably never finish it. But I wanted to do better steering, this go-kart style steering. I was going to put a rack on it. Rack. Acorns are dangerous. It's horrible. My truck is going to be hell damaged by the end of this. But
that's covered by insurance. Acorn damage ain't. So
yeah. So also, I'm going to send him a new jet. This thing, these Predators run really rich out of the box, but this thing has a crappy throttle response, and I think it does need jetted up just a little bit. So I'm going to jet a few random jets I have sent to him for him to play with that while he's got it. But you know, I think he'll make this nice. He lives really close, like a couple miles from the Deuce guy, so the Deuce guy knows everything in the world about these things, and should help him fix it up really nice. So I'm gonna get it out of the driveway and we'll show you them when they get here in the new project. Hope that battery in. Ah! And the I mess with the idle, you really can't, it needs jetted differently.
It's a cold ride from Murfreesboro.
You could have sat in the passenger seat on the way down.
All right. Mr. Redbeard, hello.
This is, y'all remember Scott, the Deuce man? Got the Deuce from him, and he
going in
red
a big
and
old
blue.
circle, gonna come, gonna end up back up by me now.
It needs some front end upgrades, and the shocks are all clapped. They're everywhere. They're dead. So this car is a Tao Aero 150 that he's put a stage 2 420 on. I think they look awesome. They look like a aerial Atom. I think they was modeled after an aerial Atom, just a lot smaller. How comfortable is it? Long? He said it was a little tight for big guys.
Oh, it's perfect for me.
If I can just get down to your size, baby, we'll be perfect.
Little Crisco on your hips, and then you can
Yeah.
or WD-40.
Good. Let it go.
There we go. Here we go. Yeah.
Too tired. Try to reverse this. I seen that I didn't have a step.
Never works.
What an idiot! Oh, what a loser!
Okay, real quick mid-video ramble. The 670s are bad about the float sticking if the engine is mounted on a swing arm. So with this engine getting thrashed around on that swing arm as well as the blown shocks, it makes the whole scenario even worse because the engine's bouncing around more than it normally would. With our old 670, the fire actually happened. People said a million times that it was a fuel line came unhooked which caused the fire on the old 670. That is not the case. When we looked at the old video footage, zoomed into it the best we could tell that the fuel line was hooked up until the fire pretty much burned it in half. What had happened was on the Yerf Dog as well as this Deuce, from that engine getting bounced around so viciously, those engines are not designed for that. The carbs are not designed for that. It makes the floats stick on the carburetors. Then when the floats stick, of course it pours fuel inside the head, as well as there's a bowl on the front of the carb on these 670s where the air filter hooks up. Gas will flow into there and in return flow through a vent valve filling up the block. Now this makes sense because the 670, the old Yerf Dog 670, when it would sit in our garage overnight, this is our kitchen door, and when the Yerf Dog would sit in our garage overnight, the whole entire house smelled like gas. The 2 times we left it in the garage, so we ended up having, and we couldn't find a fuel leak. We did not know why it stunk like gas so bad. We put a new fuel cap on it. We thought it might have been just like broken inside and was venting so much fumes out, but one morning we woke up and it stunk like gas all through our house. It was really dangerous. So We ended up parking it outside, and we never could find out the reason. We thought it might have been a faulty pulse pump that was leaking, but it ended up turning out that gas was flowing back inside the block when that float would get stuck momentarily, and over rides and rides and rides, it ended up having quite a bit of gas in the oil. That day we thrashed on the 670, the day the 670 burnt, the Yerf Dog one. We thrashed it really hard, was beating that engine up and down. Block filled up with gas pretty high, and it was basically reeking gas out of every orifice on the engine, and when that exhaust backfired, it ignited it and caught it on fire. Be safe with these 670s, with any of these engines really. Bouncing them around on a swing arm is really bad for a carburetor. They're not designed for that. These engines wasn't even designed to be on buggies after all. So you really need to check your oil before and after every ride. Make sure there's no gas in it. When he got this Deuce home, ended up having like a half a gallon of fuel inside the block. So he drained all the oil out, put new oil, ran it one good cycle, and I believe he changed it again. And the 670 is still performing like a hoss, but I would really advise you guys to use a Mikuni. They're a little bit better than these stock carbs. Just really check your go-karts out, guys. It can be really unsafe. You can see in this clip that it poured a ton of fuel out the exhaust. I didn't see it because I was in the buggy, but Scott the Deuce man ended up telling me about it. So after we did a lot of research on our old builds and stuff, we found out that this is a common problem with 670. So just be careful out there, guys. We're gonna go back to the video, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the rest of the flick. This would be the way things go.
Yeah,
never had a problem. I was thinking.
Yeah, now it does. It doesn't want to leave.
Yeah. It's actually where it has been flooding itself. You can see like a, ooh, I don't want to touch the exhaust. You can see a little wet spot right there. Look at that.
Yeah, it was. I thought it had rain in there.
That's what
There's so much
then.
liquid coming out. That was gas. That's raw fuel.
I got it on video for you, so.
It has to be the float sticking, I would assume.
Oh boy.
A few moments later.
So I'm not worried.
Yeah. When we jumped the driveway a while ago, it's like the float stuck. There's a little bit of trash in the bowl. We cleaned it all out, but he's going to end up putting a 34mm round slide Mikuni on it. So those carbs they're not great, and it's hard to tune those carbs. The Mikuni has way more tuning to it, so he's about to rip it around the yard. It's like one of those things, you know, you go to sell something, you're like, this thing is the best. It never breaks. First time it's ever not ran, pretty much.
But we got it fixed, so.
Yeah, he needs to change the oil because I about guarantee gas is in the oil from where it was just flooding itself. Well, seems like it's not flooding itself out. He's got to lean down because of his GoPro.
Here's a walking stick.
Yeah, I was about to say, you look more knowledgeable. You looked stupid before you picked up that stick. Now you look knowledgeable.
And I need a wizard hat.
Yeah. So I'm going to give him a Mikuni adapter for that 670. That's what it needed from the time we rode that thing. It always had it was real sluggish, that carb. I almost think it needs jetted down. Almost. It almost
Like
seems like it's too rich. And that's the factory jets in that thing. That's what's crazy. I didn't mess with the jets at all. So basically, I told him to give it a good oil change when he gets home because, oh yeah, those tires roar. This is Chris Harris. We had our meetup at his house. We showed him in the video, but he has Bad Out of Hell Racing YouTube channel. Anything you want to say to the camera?
Thanks. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm the new owner of the 670. Deuce is loose.